What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of the Cryptophiles.
Yeah.
I am Anthony, and that right there is Charlie, and we're here to talk to you about cryptids.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Stuff and spooky
Yeah, man.
things.
So, how you been doing, Charlie? What's going on in your world?
Oh,
Been a
dude.
week?
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. I partied at my neighbor's house and drank
Nice.
a bunch one day, and I don't think I'm going to drink again for another month.
Yes.
But one of
That's
those
a lie.
experiences.
We're gonna drink as soon as we get off stream.
Probably. Yeah, no, it was fun. It's real fun. I'm really cool. This new house, we got cool neighbors, so it's pretty chill. Yeah, but yeah, no, I've just been hanging out, working, researching cryptids like I normally do. I got us a Reddit page I started up, so that's cool.
Nice.
So
Nice.
we're gonna start doing that with t-shirt sales. We've been doing t-shirts.
Yes, we have
Yeah.
T-shirts going.
Yeah, we
That's
have
been
t-shirts
cool.
going.
Those have been bumping.
Yeah,
we have
those have been
more
bumping.
stuff going up every day.
Yeah.
But awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
What about you, dude?
Life's been good on my end. I finally broke the news to everybody.
Oh, that you're moving
that,
down here?
Yeah, that this trip is going to be permanent.
Oh god, how they taking it?
They're bummed, but they understand and they're happy for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. It's finally happening. We've got 5 weeks to go, and then we won't be doing this over the internet anymore. We'll be doing it right
we
next
do
to
it
each
in person. So that's the big announcement, guys. We haven't been able to share that with any of you, but AJ will be down here in South Carolina, and we will be back to doing this podcast in person. And we can do some cool adventures down here too. Maybe getting some more ghost hunting, get some more paranormal investigations going down here.
We're gonna get the studio all picked up again and looking cool. Yeah, we'll have one room for the both of us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But
cool.
All right, let's get into this week's cryptid. All right.
Yeah.
So we are finally leaving West Virginia.
Yes.
And we are covering today the Snallygaster from Maryland,
which is like right across the river. So. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Snallygaster has been around since the 1730s. It's described as a large dragon-like body with a metal beak, hooked claws, a long serpentine tail, tentacles protruding from its mouth, and a single eye in the center of its head, and it has a shriek that sounds like a train whistle.
Yeah.
So he's kind of scary. He's a scary boy.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a German cryptid, actually, which is pretty cool. It came here from German immigrants in, like you said, the 1700s. And the original name for it, let me get that, is the Snallygaster.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it was basically that means fast ghost, which was the original description of it. It was more of kind of like a spectral dragon in a sense.
Right.
German immigrants that came over in the 1700s basically turned into the Snallygaster, which is a very wild-looking cryptid. So let's go over a description of this guy real quick. He's got a large metal beak with tentacles.
The metal beak is definitely different.
Yeah, with tentacles coming out of its mouth, wings of a dragon. It's got very sharp claws, long tail, and flies. So it's almost like a mix between a bird and a dragon and somehow an octopus.
Some kind of Lovecraftian Cthulhu hybrid.
Exactly, yeah. So that's it. I don't know. It's kind of interesting how wild.
He's definitely an interesting looking fella.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it started off in the 1700s, and it was more of like this cattle eating like folklore type of creature that lived in like the Appalachian Mountains. And then it also had a little bit of, I found a news article where apparently it had some like racist roots to it too.
Yes, yeah. So in the 1800s, in the height of slavery, they were writing articles about the Snallygaster would only attack black people.
Yes.
So they were doing that to try and scare slaves
from running away,
fleeing plantations because they were safe if they stayed.
Yeah.
On the property and didn't run off.
So I originally heard about this. It was I think WJZ, the Baltimore News, the reporter Julie Sharper. She talked about it a little bit on an interview, and she spoke to a historian and who basically they got a little bit wrong because they said it was originated in the 1900s. They said it started in the early 1900s, and that it was used to kind of scare black people away from moving into different areas, right? That's what she said on the news. Now, all the research that I got from it was the same as what you said.
Civil War era.
War era. They kind of... And they did that with a couple other cryptids too, but they wanted a way to control people at night so that they wouldn't be able to escape without being watched. So they basically used these stories about these cryptids. They took them and they twisted them into this thing that basically hunts runaways and, is a deterrence method for runaway slaves. Pretty messed up. Right. But the original Snallygaster wasn't designed or didn't really come from that. It was from the early 1700s.
Right, from the Germans.
From the German immigrants that came over originally. But yeah, during the Civil War era, prior and post Civil War era, that's when it kind of turned into this
racism monster.
Yeah, this racism monster. Yeah, it was they turned it into a racist monster.
And then there was a surge again in the early 1900s, like the 1910s. The Snallygaster was spotted all over Maryland, and it was actually around the same time that Jersey Devil sightings started popping up again in New Jersey. So there was a couple theories that they might be related, that they might both come from the same curse or something else. Claims ranged from husbands or wives watching their husbands get snatched and eaten in the air. Hunters claim to have shot the thing, and apparently it's bulletproof. All the bullets would just kind of glance off of it and piss it off, and they'd run away, and the hunters would flee for their lives. People would find their cattle drained of their blood and all that stuff, like Chupacabra style. And then there was claim that they found eggs laid near a couple small towns, but they were never produced. Like they never actually came forward with the eggs. They were just like, we found them and we destroyed them. So no proof, but there were claims.
Yeah, in fact, there was a large hunt that they actually did in Maryland for this cryptid, and Theodore Roosevelt actually almost skipped an international conference so he could personally go on the hunt for the Snallygaster himself. Which I find is absolutely awesome. Yeah, Theodore Roosevelt is one of my absolute favorite presidents. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me some history about him that just makes it terrible. But this man, he's a cryptid. He made the national park system. He helped build the Panama Canal. He did a whole bunch of other crazy cool stuff. But yeah. So anyways, so he went on it. And then, did you hear about the brewery incident?
Yeah, okay, so it was a moonshine incident, actually.
Yes, a moonshine incident.
Yeah, so apparently in 1932, the moonshiners claimed that a Snallygaster was... Is it A or the? That is the one thing I couldn't figure out in all the research. Is there just one?
I think so. All right, so I don't think they're exactly sure. And the Snallygaster itself, they think, is more of a spiritual entity than a actual product of evolution. It's more of this a wild thing that lives in the woods.
So for the sake of this podcast, we're going to call it the. There's just one Snallygaster.
Just one Snallygaster. We'll talk about it like that.
Yeah. Moonshiners claimed that the Snallygaster was attracted to their vats. They were making moonshine out in the woods.
Yeah.
And it actually flew in so close that the fumes knocked it out, and it fell out of the sky and landed in their mash vat, and all of the lye and everything else and alcohols and everything bubbling around in there killed it. It drowned in moonshine, and so all the moonshiners fled because they were holy crap, this thing just fell out of the sky. Someone's gonna know where we are, freaking out. So they all dip, and the authorities show up because of course you see this giant thing fall out of the sky in the middle of the woods. You want to see what's going on, and they find the Snallygaster in this vat of moonshine, just fucking drowned and dead. And instead of pulling it out and showing it off and being like, hey man, we got the dead Snallygaster, they blew the whole place up with dynamite.
Yeah, it was, I think it was 500 pounds of dynamite.
Yeah, they blew the whole thing to holy hell. They never showed off the body, so we don't know for sure if this actually happened. There's several witnesses that claimed it did in the 30s, but nobody could prove it because they blew up the possible evidence.
This is going to disappoint you. Let me tell you my problems with this story right now. So, they said it flew into their mash because the fumes, right?
Yeah, the fumes knocked it out. It
knocked it out.
And it got too much of it, and it got knocked out.
From the sky, right? So when they're actually distilling, that's enclosed. Okay?
Yep.
If they have leaks in their distillation process where fumes are escaping, that's when you get explosions. Because that's where, you have like gas escaping. Also, you can stand next to a still with gases escaping and not pass out. And you would die from an exploding before you got even close to passing out. If there was that much gas just like chilling in the area. So that confuses me a little bit.
The only thing I can think of is maybe, and this might be my own ignorance because I've never distilled. I've worked in a brewery. I've made beer.
Yeah.
Maybe they're referencing like the initial mash, just the boil tank. I don't know if you do that with distillation too, where you have to boil your first batch.
But there wouldn't have been toxic fumes coming off of it because at that point you're making oatmeal. So that's literally
toxic
all you're
oatmeal.
Doing. Yeah, you're taking the sugars and you're extracting them from whatever grain you're using. So like moonshine, they use a lot of corn, and it's basically you're making sugar water. You're boiling
lye in it for some reason.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you're boiling these grains. You're getting the sugar out. You're left with flavorless oatmeal, but all that sugar is drained out, and then you let that ferment, and then you take that and you distill that, and that's how you get your alcohol or your moonshine. So there would be no toxic gases from fermenting corn, or from So
it shouldn't be something that can knock something out of the sky.
It definitely would not knock anything out of the sky.
Unless we are not considering the possibility that the Snallygaster is deathly allergic to corn.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's deathly allergic to corn. Yeah, so that broke my heart when I had that story, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, what a cool thing!" And then also conveniently, it was blown up. So
yeah, exactly.
There's no body. So that the brewery story, I mean the brewing / distilling story, is kind of I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. It does not sit well with me.
It doesn't. The facts don't really line up.
The facts don't line up. Also, if it is more of like a spectral entity versus like an animal living in the area, which is what I've been. Based on its origins, based on the fact that it is from that old German folklore, and they
being the whole
always considered it a spirit, and the fact that it came over with them, because I guarantee there was not a Snallygaster stowaway on the ship somewhere.
Lye doesn't even really produce fumes when you boil it.
Also, the amount of it that you would need to knock something. If you're outside, and that's why most moonshiners actually work outside and they don't do indoor stills, because you think, they're worried about getting caught. Why don't they just do it inside? Well, because you're gonna blow up. So doing it outside is the best way to go.
Especially if it being in the sky. Like, okay, it'd be one thing if the theory was it like waddled over and put its head in the tank and then got knocked out by some fumes. Maybe, but this thing fell out of the sky.
It fell out of the sky and landed in it.
It was in low orbit and just went. Oh.
And here's the thing: any of the moonshiners there would have known that doesn't happen. They would have had the knowledge to say, like, "Hey, these fumes are not going to knock you out of the sky." So, does not make sense. Yeah, but this incident happened in 1932. It was near Frog Hollow, I think, in Washington County, and it flew into a 2,500 gallon vat of moonshine, is what they said.
Yep, and then they blew it up.
Yeah. Also, you wouldn't have that big vat of moonshine because it would all be separated into. So, you would never have that much of alcohol in one specific thing, because when you're actually distilling, you have to separate your heads and your tails.
Right.
That's like the difference between like Jack Daniels and a bottle of Gentleman's Jack. It's the guy that mixes it at the end.
Right.
So.
Right.
But. Yeah, so it just doesn't make sense. And then they're like, oh, and then we blew it up with this creature in it.
We don't have a body.
Yeah, we don't have a body because we blew up this Snallygaster. So.
It's just like one of the cops shows up. So where's the Snallygaster? He's over there. Yeah. Over there.
He's over there.
Over there. There's a little bit over there.
He's over there. Some of them everywhere.
Some of it got on Jimmy. It's over there. The metal beak is still lodged in the tree back there. Yeah. If you want to go check.
Oh, that's the other thing too. Like if it had an actual like metal beak.
Like why?
It would have to. Well, first of all, it would have to melt for it to not leave any evidence, and I don't think a moonshine distiller could melt a metal
Metal.
beak upon explosion like that. So,
But also, if we're looking at this as either a spirit or an animal, it's going to be organic matter, and we don't know anything in this planet that has naturally occurring metal as its part of its body.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's like metals that are like in our body, like, you know, we have.
Yeah, but you don't have like we ingest iron and zinc and things like that as like as nutritional value, but like you don't have an iron nose if you have too much iron in your diet. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't grow like a metal beak. I mean, I'm looking at the biology of this thing that has tentacles coming out of its mouth. So really,
yeah, I know.
How much does it matter?
Exactly. Well, that's why like the only way to possibly look at this thing is as if it was more of like a spirit or a ghost, because there is no way evolution has created this. You know, or if you believe in creation by your God, I don't. No, any. Why God would make a Snallygaster, but
the only thing is maybe like when you look at like the biblical depictions of angels being all fucking
wonky. That's
the only other place that you'd find something like this with literally like
and still that would be it'd be
on
like
its
some
mouth.
form
How do
of,
it grow?
some type of spiritual existence. It can't. There can't be an actual Snallygaster animal the way I see it. It's got to be some type of spirit of the woods or whatever from some German spirit that exists in the mountains.
If this is real, it's definitely something demonic or cursed in origin. It's not something that like lives out there and we found it.
The Snallygaster was a huge part of Maryland, apparently, like its history, you know, like we have all this from like German immigrants coming over to they used it as a tool for runaway slaves to scare them. Now they have like Snallygaster beer festivals, and they have
also all of like the farms and everything in the area. They all have 7-pointed stars on their barns, because that was supposed to ward them off. So you still see that everywhere in Maryland. These 7-pointed stars.
Well, that's because that's why they scared them. It was terrifying.
Yeah. Because like if you see around the country, you see the 5-pointed stars, the good luck stars that are on a lot of parts, but it's mostly Maryland and the surrounding, this edge of Virginia, some of Ohio, like that, where this was seen, that you'll see the 7-point, the hex star, to try and ward it off, because it's totally different vibe that this thing is giving off.
Yeah, but I did find a newspaper article too, which was pretty cool, from 1909. I can put that up real quick. Well, it's there. I can't even read it, but basically they were just talking about how they had Snallygaster sightings in the area. There's about 100 different newspapers you can find with Snallygaster sightings from the area. Like, this was a part of the culture. It still is a part of the culture there. So take a look at that.
Yeah, this is one of the few that we've covered so far that has had constant and consistent sightings and stories.
Yeah, like a societal impact.
Really, yeah. But even beyond a societal, like Mothman has a ginormous societal impact on Point Pleasant, and he was only around for like 3 days, really. Yeah. And like the Jersey Devil has Jersey is ingrained in the Jersey Devil. We have a sports team named after him, and all over the world, all over the
everybody
state,
knows
devil this, devil that.
Yeah.
And his legacy really only lasted a couple. What was it? We covered it was like 20 years of sightings, and then it disappeared out of existence, and there hasn't really been anything since.
Yeah.
There's like a handful here and there, but like the Snallygaster was like daily occurrences of holy crap, here's another one.
It's such a far out cryptid. Like, it's original as hell. Like, this is there is nothing like the Snallygaster out there, but it's constantly being debunked because of how far out it is, and how the stories don't make sense really about it, how much the meaning of it has changed throughout the years. Like, anything that's been twisted so much for a purpose, it's kind of hard to get validity out of it, if that makes sense. So it started off as German folklore, and they more have told it as like a fairy tale type thing to begin with, and then it was twisted into the creature it is, basically by like slave owners in the Civil War to keep runaway slaves. So it's almost, it does, like, the creature that we modernly have now kind of has dark roots in that sense with like the slave era, if you really think about it. And then later on in like the early 1900s, it was still being used in the same sense, right. And I don't know. It's obvious. It's been kind of a tool for some bad stuff. But yeah, that's a Snallygaster, man. That's it.
Yeah, man, that's the Snallygaster. The only other thing I have is that there is actually a Snallygaster museum, as with every other cryptid we've covered.
Yes.
In Frederick County, Maryland. So we're gonna have to add that to the list of trips. I'm actually going back through everything we've covered so far and pulling out all the locations for the museums and stuff, and building like a little like world map of places to go visit. So I'm just gonna make a list of everywhere that's like a prominent. I'm gonna leave out, hey, this diner has a statue of the Jersey Devil in front of it, but I will put in this list any cryptid museum or like actual someplace that you can go visit and learn about these things in that list. So you can check that out.
Well, I kind of want to try to get like a little bit more into that too, and like organize it by state, because there's so many of them. Go check out the cryptid.
Oh my god, yeah.
In your area,
I think up in, is it Maine or Vermont or somewhere up in New England, there's the Natural Cryptozoology Museum that we have to find our way to at some point, and we'll definitely do some cool kind of live something there.
Oh yeah, 100%. I guarantee we could probably contact some of these places and they would let us do like podcast episode there. There's a couple cool ones down here in South Carolina too. We can check out.
Sweet.
I'm waiting for you to get down here though to go visit them.
Sweet. And then I'm going to take you on a roller coaster too.
I will not do it. I hate roller coasters.
You've never been on a roller coaster, so you don't know. You've jumped out of fucking helicopters.
I've jumped out of helicopters, but I don't want to jump out of a roller coaster, so. Oh,
man. But, all right, Charlie, tell us how you're going to fight the Snallygaster.
All right. So does this thing have a corn allergy? That's what we need to find out. Because
I think for the sake of your battle, we are going to completely remove the moonshine story from its lore.
Oh,
because
come on, man.
It's clearly bullshit.
Well, so is the Snallygaster's kind of clearly bullshit, if you ask me. Like, this guy's getting a 0 from me probably for realism. But, all right. Spiritual entity. It's known for catching runaway slaves, which is kind of fucked up. So I think my best strategy for not getting caught by the thing would be
white.
Yes, be white.
We're canceled.
Don't be a victim of racism. I think that since it's a flying creature, right, and it seems to be fairly dumb because it flies into vats of moonshine, that I could probably get into like some foliage, so like something it couldn't like catch me in. Like, right, kind of be like, you know, a little bit more hidden, especially if I knew the Snallygaster was coming. And it's a flying beast. So once I get kind of out of its range and got to the point where it would have to like get on the ground to fight me, I'd have a slight advantage. I would start taking sticks and trees and things that I'm near and throwing it at the Snallygaster.
You're gonna throw a tree at the Snallygaster?
A small tree. You know? You know, you gotta understand, this is the guy that has killed the Blue Devil. I've killed Mothman. I've fought, at this point, I have fought a lot of cryptids at this point. So, yeah, no, all right. So I start throwing things at it. I get on its back. It's got a long neck, right? That's the weak spot right there. Its tentacles would be kind of touching me and doing weird things, but you know, I feel like I could deal with that.
Doing weird things.
Yeah. Just gotta stay away from its metal beak, and I think I could take down a bird, man. I could do it.
And its claws. It's got claws, and it is bulletproof. Apparently, supposedly.
It is bulletproof, but I don't have any bullets, so.
I feel like bullets.
Is it rock proof? Is it rock proof? It might be bulletproof, but is it rock proof? I don't fucking think so.
I think you'll meet your match on this one, man. That beat will go straight through your forehead.
And it also likes to like drain people of their blood. I'll just drain my blood prior. If I have no blood for it to drain, what's it gonna do? It's got nothing to drink. Why would it even attack me? I've gone weeks without blood. I'm fine. I'm just kidding.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I don't know. You think you could fight the Snallygaster?
No!
How long do you think you would last against the Snallygaster?
Not long. That thing is big, fast, and scary. I'd be dead in like...
No confidence.
That thing would snatch me out of the ground and eat me in the sky.
Absolutely no confidence whatsoever. If it
I'm
is
just more realistic about these things than you are.
Now, if I was planning an attack on the Snallygaster, right? If I was the aggressor, I'd be a little bit more prepared. Spritz myself with some corn cologne prior. The Snallygaster, as soon as he gets his hands on me, Done. Allergic reaction. And guess who doesn't have an EpiPen? This guy. Snallygaster's done for. Allergic reaction. I win.
Boy.
Yeah.
All right.
I would actually, if there, I don't know how there are lots of cornfields in Maryland.
In Maryland? I don't really think so. I think corn is more of a northwest kind of Nebraska,
I mean, there's corn
Montana.
There's corn in Jersey.
Yeah, but
Everyone grows a little corn.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna find out how often corn is grown in Maryland. Yeah, it is. Okay.
I'd fight him in a cornfield.
It's the most popular grain crop in Maryland.
Easy days. All right, dude. I'd lure him into a cornfield if he's allergic to corn.
This is just if the moonshiner story is real.
Yes.
Which I still don't believe because
I don't believe in any of the stories.
None of the
logistics
logistics make sense.
I don't believe in any story on this thing. I honestly, maybe the old original German folklore's got a little bit of merit. Folklore. You know, forks. Yeah, maybe the old German folklore has got a little bit of merit to it. But even they told it as a fairy tale type creature. Yeah, it was never had any form of religious merit or
it was pretty much a boogeyman.
Yeah, and they told it like a boogeyman. They joked about it like it was a boogeyman. Nobody actually believed in it really, which is, I'm sure somebody did. There's
kids that believe in Santa Claus. So
what do you mean? He's
exactly.
Real.
So there's Snallygaster. So there's Snallygaster believers.
Yeah. So I don't know. He holds. If we're gonna pick and choose what part of it's true.
It's okay, fine. You can feed him with a cornstalk.
I can feed him with a cornstalk. So,
and if that's the case, and he is allergic to corn, then I can fight the Snallygaster.
Yeah, see? You run into the cornfield. You gotta have confidence, AJ. Dude, if I ever got into a cryptid fight with you, I'd be like, alright, this guy's useless. Because he would just roll up in a ball, be like, I give up, I can't fight him. No, you gotta look for the weaknesses. We're
gonna do a Halloween episode. We're going to do a Halloween episode on Godzilla, and you're going to be like, I can fight him.
I can take him. Yeah, no, he's got weakness. We're not going to talk about that. We'll save for the Halloween episode, but I'm sure I can develop a strategy to take on Godzilla.
He's going to use the Ant-Man method and crawl into his butt or something.
All I know is that tanks don't work.
Yeah, what was the German Snallygaster like? I did not actually dig that far back.
It wasn't at all like the original, our Snallygaster today. It was not at all like it. So Snallygaster literally translates to it was fast ghost or fast spirit.
Yep. Yes. And what was it? Schnellgeist.
Yeah, and they kind of took that as a spectral, almost dragon-like spirit, and it didn't do any of the terrible things that the Snallygaster does. So it was Schnellgeist, I think. I'm probably butchering it because I don't speak German, but
that sounds about right.
Yeah, Schnellgeist was the original one in Germany. And when they came over, it slowly turned into the Snallygaster. I think it was actually newspapers that have started calling it the Snallygaster first.
Because of course we had to butcher the German words and make it all Marylandy.
Yeah, this is right now, the American way. We change it. Yeah. I don't know. I think it was also a strategy to kind of because this was it was during Prohibition era.
Yeah, probably to scare the moonshiners.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah. Scare away people from buying moonshine. Because there was a huge thing with methanol at the time where they were
oh, yeah.
Actually the government caused 90% of the methanol deaths in the United States. I don't know if you knew that.
Were they spiking the moonshine?
Yes, they were putting methanol in the moonshine to kill people so that people would not buy moonshine because it was dangerous. And they caused most of the deaths, which is hysterical. But, not hysterical. Terrible. It's terrible, but it's also what the fuck? Yeah, government.
That's why makes you wonder about, the fentanyl epidemic right now.
Yeah, who knows?
If they're doing the same thing, putting fentanyl in the cocaine. So
they did it with crack. They made crack. They admitted that pretty much. And the CIA pretty much admitted that. They created crack in the 80s. That's another podcast.
We're back on the conspiracy files.
Back on the conspiracy files. The conspiracy files. Yeah, that's a whole separate podcast.
About moonshine and crack.
Moonshine and crack. Yeah. But
all right, so let's give this sucker a rating.
Oh God, yeah. I'm sorry, Snallygaster. I'm about to butcher you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tear this motherfucker
Well,
apart.
you know, it's got some good things going for it. Originality, let me tell you. It's very original, but yeah, let's start with
Let's
that.
start from the top. Yep.
Well,
We're gonna start with the realism.
Realism. No. I give it a...
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I don't want to give it a 0 just because maybe the original German folklore might have a slight bit of merit to it somewhere. So I'm going to give it a 0.2.
You know, I'm gonna give it exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
0.2.
0.2, which is a terrible score for realism.
Oh yeah, we're starting real low on this one this month.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was, that's me being generous with the 0.2 too, you know?
Yeah.
I could have given it a 0.1 or 0.01, but I'm going to give it a 0.2.
All right, so now we'll go with cool factor.
Look, it depends on the story. It depends on the story that you look at. Because is it cool as something that flies around and crashes into brew tanks? Yes. Is it cool that it hunts runaway slaves? No! That's not cool. It does drain people of their blood. There was a story of it like draining a farmer of its blood. So it's got like, you know, I don't know. It's a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to give this guy a 2.5. You know, it's kind of like mid-range cool. Me comparing it to like cryptids that like I am super into and cryptids that really catch my eye. Because what the biggest part of the cool factor to me is the story. Right. And it's really hard for me to think a cryptid is really cool if I am 100% sure it doesn't exist. Right. Or if I'm 100% sure that its story's been changed about 500 times. So I'm going to give it a 0.25. Just... Or a 2.5. 2.5, not 0.25.
0.25, yikes. Yeah. All right, 2.5. All right, yeah. I think I'm going to go a little higher than you just because I like how big of an impact it has on Maryland culture in general. Like the Snallygaster is to Maryland what the Jersey Devil is to New Jersey. Yeah. And I mean there's other cryptids that we're going to cover from Maryland too, like the Snarly Owl and some other stuff that are big parts of their culture as well, but the Snallygaster is like the biggest in terms of like the range it has. Yeah. So
societal impact. Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 3.
3. Okay. All right, now originality. So
the goddamn thing is swallowing its own tentacles. Like nobody's thinking of this before.
Nobody's thinking of this. Most cryptids that have like face tentacles, they're always growing out of its face, not just coming out of its mouth like it's constantly eating a squid. And it sucks blood. It's got a metal beak. It's got dragon wings. And like
claws,
sharp hooked bird talons, long tail. And
it's a cyclops.
Yeah, and it's attracted to beer.
It apparently really likes moonshine.
Yeah, I don't know if we said it was a cyclops. It is a cyclops, though. It's got,
it is a cyclops, yep.
They said it's got an eye in the center of its forehead. So, you can see in our picture, too, if you can see the picture back there.
Yep. Also, just looking at the picture, I don't know if Bryn did this on purpose, but as we always cover whether or not you can fight these beasts, these cryptids, you're always ready to kick their ass, and I'm always like, we're going to die. If you look at it, I'm screaming for my life, and you're biting the damn thing. Yeah. If that's not the most Cryptid Files accurate art, I don't know what is.
It's very Cryptid Files accurate art right there. But so for originality, dude, I'll go first. I'm gonna say it's a solid 5, man. It's original. There's no and I was even gonna give it a little bit lower because it's based off of the old German folklore, but it's nothing like it. Right. It's literally not based off of it at all, in a sense. Besides the name,
the name that they butchered and
that they butchered
something else.
So I'm gonna give it a 5, dude. It is. I don't think there's anything like it out there. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong here. I don't know anything like the Snallygaster.
Anything I've ever seen, known, heard about, or researched for this podcast, including the 10 years of cryptids that I have scheduled for us, I have not seen a single thing that looks and acts like the Snallygaster. Yes. Like there's plenty of vampiric things, there's plenty of dragon-like things, there's plenty of flying things, there's plenty of shit. This is the only one that's got metal, as part of its body. That's not an alien, because there are a few alien cryptids that we're going to cover that seem to have metallic limbs, and there's even the Flatwoods monster they couldn't tell if it was a spacesuit or part of the body when we covered him and all that.
Yeah.
But there's not a single thing swallowing its own tentacles like it's dying on a squid.
No.
So I think I'm gonna come up there with you and say 5. Yeah. I think I have to agree with you that it's got a full top score for originality.
Yeah. So we're gonna add these scores up. We're gonna see what we got.
All right.
I've
got the math duck ready.
You have the math duck ready. Are you guys ready for some math? All right, let me get the math calculator ready, which is a little bit more efficient than the duck. So,
hey man, the duck knows what's up.
All right, first we got a 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 2.5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5. And for a total score, we have 15.9, which is not
our top
great.
for the month because it's the only one.
Yeah, our top for the month so far. Yeah, it's in first place and last place. That is
go Snallygaster.
A fairly low score out of 30.
That is putting it on a grading scale. That is a 50.
Yeah,
at 100. That is halfway up. That is an F. You failed, Snallygaster.
That is, he's about the same level as the Squonk, which is one of the most useless cryptids, but one of my favorites. Don't get me wrong. So the rating scores...
And we have...
Yeah,
we have Squonk shirts.
Yeah, we have Squonk shirts. We have Squonk shirts. The rating scores are not like which cryptid is, your favorite or your best. We all know that there's personal attachment to these things. And the Squonk, I have a special place in my heart for the Squonk. But compared to fire-breathing dragons, I understand. the ugly pig-like rat creature that dissolves when it sees its reflection because it's so ugly is not
of male depression.
Yeah, which honestly makes sense why it's kind of hysterical that it's also one of the lowest scoring cryptids because it's just the bottom of everything to ever exist. We can all we all have a little bit of Squonk in our hearts. Man, I actually ordered the Squonk shirt and the Squonk hoodie.
Yeah.
So
you got the hoodie too?
I got the hoodie, dude. I'm gonna be rocking the Squonk hoodie just because I love that one. Loki got the DNR logo sweatshirt.
He did. So did my buddy Bryant because that hoodie looks awesome. Come join us on Discord. It's awesome. We chat. We talk about cryptids in the chat. You can share stories of your own cryptid and paranormal experiences. We have a voice channel that we'll hang out in sometimes late at night. The other night, Charlie and I were hanging out with our buddy Ken while I was working on the schedule, and they were playing World of Warcraft, and we were just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Sometimes I'll have an ADHD moment, and I will zone in, and I will work on the schedule for like 4 hours in the middle of the night. And if anyone else is on there, I'll chat with you and talk about whatever the hell's going on at 2:30 in the morning. It'd be cool. It's fun to get to know each other. It's fun to all hang out.
We really want to make a community here, and I want to hear you guys' stories too. I know you guys got cryptid stories.
Yeah, I think that's it for tonight.
That's all I got for tonight.
So, go check out our merch on Designs by Humans. The link is right there. It's also on Discord. Go join us on the Discord. Go follow us on Instagram, DNR Paranormal. Like us on Facebook, where we post a bunch of stuff too that's going on. I think that's everything we have.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook. We don't have a Snapchat. We don't have an OnlyFans yet. But yeah, hang out. Like all of our stuff. And
yeah. Also, I want to do a plug for my buddy here at the end too, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
He's doing another. Well, I'll be doing it with him for a little bit, but it's a tech podcast on Thursday nights. So if you guys want another live to watch on Thursday, check out Station of Play on Twitch. Go ahead, give it a shot. Check it out. It's pretty fun. If you're into computers and people who an interesting conversation between somebody that knows a lot about computers, him, and somebody who knows nothing about it, me. Go check it out. But all right, guys, sweet,
awesome,
yeah.
That's it for us tonight. We'll catch you guys next week. Stick around.
Catch you next week, guys. Peace.